Hello kids, so one of the next things we're going to do with our measuring spaces is to use our measuring tapes. Actually, we'll be using this side of the measuring tapes with centimeters and measuring the things that we use to measure our spaces. So we'll be measuring our measuring objects. Okay, and I have my shoe and I've got my measuring tape. Remember that your shoe doesn't have to be a shoe. You could have used a stuffy or other things around the house. So what I'll do now is find the side of the measuring tape that has centimeters. Yours will have two different sides, and we've gone through this before. There's one that has numbers further spaced apart and one that has numbers closer together. So, and my measuring tape's blue. I don't think yours are blue. You're probably white with red on it or something like that. So the ones we need are the centimeters. Those are the numbers closer together. We live in Canada. We're going to learn how to measure with centimeters before inches. So here we go. I'm going to line up the end with the heel of my shoe and see how many centimeters it is all the way down my shoe. Now it looks like if I go right to the end, the number is 31. So that's a big foot, and yours are probably smaller, so that's okay. Now I know that one of my shoes equals 31 centimeters. Instead of going and measuring all the way around our room in centimeters, that would be a lot of centimeters. I'm going to choose one of the smaller objects in my room to change shoes into centimeters. So instead what I'm going to do is I'll choose my dresser. Now my dresser is equal to, I don't know how many centimeters. So what I want to do is work that out. And so in order to do that, I know that if one of my shoes is 31 centimeters, my dresser is actually 16 shoes around. It says right here, my dresser has a perimeter of 16 shoe lengths. So that means I'm going to have 31 16 times. Or 31 times 16. That's a really big number to figure out. But if you can figure it out like that, try it. But I'm thinking you might have some trouble. I have trouble doing it in my head, but I could. So that's what I want to find out. But another way to write that might be 31 plus 31 plus 31 16 times. That is also a big headache. But I'm going to do my best to try and figure out that big number. You might be wise to pick something small. When we're measuring in centimeters, centimeters are small. So you want to match small things with centimeters. Okay, I'll be back after I blow my mind up figuring this out. Now one way to figure this out is to start with easy, friendly numbers. So this right here is a bit friendly for me. 31 times 10. Well, I know that anything times 10, the rule is you basically take the number and add a 0 behind it. That makes it 10 times bigger. So 31 is right here again, and I've just added the 0 behind it because it's 10 times bigger now. So it turns into 310. But I need to find out 16 times bigger, not just 10 times bigger, so I still have 6 31s to figure out. Now, how can I do this? A couple of ways. I know that 3 groups of 6, or 3 times 6, if you can count that up, that might help. So that is really 6 plus 6 plus 6. That means that's 12. And 6 more, 18. So that means 18 is 3 times 6. So I'm going to write down the 18. But it's really not just 3 times 6. It's 30 times 6. So that means it's 10 times bigger than that. That means I add that 0 there. And then I have one more left over. So I have one more 6 left over. So I think that's how it's going to work out. Then I'm going to add all these up. That makes 6. This makes 90. And this makes 496. Now I'm going to check that with my calculator. Okay, so let's check it out. 31 times 16, that's for me, is 496. That just happens to be my answer. So this is a bit of a challenge. I know that it's all there's some big numbers to put together, and hopefully your feet aren't as big as mine, and that the numbers will be a little bit smaller for you. Now that you figured out how many centimeters it is around, or the perimeter of your object is, we need a couple more things on our page. One is a drawing, a picture of your object that you have converted into centimeters. So, you know, you can add the measurements to each side if you like. I haven't done that here because I figured it out all at once, but I know that the perimeter all the way around my dresser is 496 centimeters. So I need that picture, and I also need to add in my unit at the end of my measurement, which is centimeters. So there we go. So I have my pictures, or my picture, my numbers, and now I have to have words on my page as well. So a sentence just explaining what you found out. Mine says, my dresser has a perimeter of 496 centimeters. You can use that sentence. Your numbers will be different. And make sure you include that on this Measuring My Spaces Part 2 page. So that whole business of using your measuring tape to find out how wide or how long your shoe is, and then figuring out how many centimeters it is around one of your objects in your bedroom. Just do that with one of the objects, and that would be enough for me. As long as you're recording it in your math journal and you have some evidence that you've tried, that's the best we can do. Now, if that's not challenging for you and you want to use the other objects in your room, you can figure out how many centimeters it is around your bed, how many centimeters it is around other things like smaller tables. If there's a carpet in your room, you might want to try that out too. And so write that all into your math journal, and the next step is figuring out the area of your room.